Look at this! You are not going to believe what just happened in Motor City! For years, and I mean years, Detroit Tigers fans have been promised a brighter future. We heard all about the extensive rebuild. We heard about the high draft picks. We heard about the patience required by the front office. But on July 31st, 2026, the future did not just politely knock on the front door. It kicked the door completely down. The Detroit Tigers absolutely obliterated the Oakland Athletics 13-1. And here is the crazy part. It was not the established veterans doing the heavy lifting. It was the kids, the youth movement. The exact young players this front office has been hyping up for multiple seasons. And the numbers back this up. They scored 11 runs in the 8th and 9th innings alone. 11 runs in just 2 frames. That is not just a regular season win. That is a massive, league-wide statement. Let us back up and set the stage. Before this game even started, the Tigers were desperately looking for a spark. The offense had been wildly inconsistent all season long. The fan base was getting incredibly restless. And the August 3rd trade deadline is looming over the clubhouse like a dark cloud. Tarek Skubal is in every single trade rumor across the internet. The tension is incredibly high. Then the front office makes the call. They decide to bring up Max Clark from AAA Toledo, 21 years old, the former first-round pick. And what does he do? He goes out and gets 3 hits in his major league debut. 3 hits? I mean, come on! Are you kidding me? But the absolute dominance of this game did not start in the late innings. It started with Kevin McGonigal. In the 3rd inning, the Tigers were down 1-0. The offense looked flat against Oakland's pitching. Oakland thought they had the momentum firmly in their grasp. But McGonigal stepped into the box and said nope. He turned on an inside fastball and hit an absolute nuke to tie the game at 1-1. A massive solo shot that completely shifted the momentum of the entire game. McGonigal has been showing elite plate discipline all year, but this swing was pure violence. He did not just make contact, he crushed it. That solo shot kept the Tigers alive, but the game stayed incredibly tight. A tense 1-1 dogfight all the way into the 8th inning. Oakland decides to bring in the bullpen. They think they can hold the line. They were completely wrong. The Tigers' offense exploded. And I mean exploded in a way we have not seen in years. It started with Max Clark. Let us talk about Clark for a second. This kid has been tearing up AAA pitching with a 2.76 of EG, 11 home runs, and 21 stolen bases. He possesses elite sprint speed. He has a nasty left-handed swing. And in the 8th inning, with the pressure completely on, he delivers a clutch RBI double to the gap. The swing was so smooth and effortless. The Oakland outfielders did not even have a chance to track it down. That hit blew the game wide open. Clark proved instantly that the hype surrounding him is absolutely real. He is absolutely dialed in. But wait, here is where it gets completely wild. The bases are loaded later in that exact same inning. Dillon Dingler is at the plate. And let us be clear about Dingler. He is not some struggling rookie. He is a legitimate 2026 All-Star. He stepped into the box already possessing a dangerous 269 of EG, 23 home runs, and 72 RBIs on the season. He is an absolutely terrifying presence in the middle of this lineup. He gets a pitch over the heart of the plate. And what does he do? He launches a majestic grand slam into the night sky for runs. Gone, just like that. The stadium went absolute bananas. You could see the raw intensity on Dingler's face as he rounded the bases. He did not just hit a home run. He broke the backs of the Oakland Athletics. A grand slam in the 8th inning of a tight game is the absolute definition of clutch. And they still were not done. Moving into the 9th inning, the A's were completely demoralized. You would think the Tigers would take their foot off the gas and coast to a victory. Boom! Ben Malgeri steps up and decides he wants a piece of the action. He launches a massive two-run home, run deep into the seats. His first career big league homer. Just pure filth. The dugout completely lost their minds. When the guys at the bottom of the roster are hitting absolute tanks, you know the entire lineup is contagious. Now, we absolutely cannot talk about this 13-1 blowout without giving massive credit to the pitching staff. Casey Mize was scratched right before the game. The Tigers had to rely on a bullpen game. That is usually a massive recipe for disaster in the major leagues. But Ty Madden stepped up and threw straight gas. Madden came out of the bullpen and pitched 3 scoreless innings. 3 zeros against a professional lineup. He kept the Oakland hitters completely off balance. His fastball had ridiculous late life, and his breaking stuff was just disgusting. He earned his first win of the season, improving his record to 1-0. You need arms like Ty Madden to step up if you want to survive a long season, and he delivered an absolute masterclass on the mound. Think about this for a second. Max Clark gets 3 hits in his debut. Dillon Dingler hits a grand slam. Kevin McGonigal hits a game-tying bomb. Ben Malgeri hits a 2-run shot. Ty Madden shoves for 3 innings. This was not just a regular baseball game. This was a showcase of the Detroit Tigers farm system coming of age all on the exact same night. To really understand the magnitude of this offensive explosion, you have to look at the organizational philosophy that Scott Harris has been preaching since he took over. Control the strike zone. Do not chase. Punish the mistakes. That is exactly what we witnessed in this game. The A's pitchers tried to get these rookies to chase breaking balls in the dirt, but the plate discipline was elite. When you force opposing pitchers into the zone, they eventually make a mistake. And when they made mistakes in the 8th and 9th innings, the Tigers did not just make contact, they did immense structural damage to the baseball. The exit velocities in those final 2 innings were off the charts. You are talking about hard-hit balls that completely bypass the infield defense. This is the modern MLB approach executed to absolute perfection. It is one thing to read about these prospects in scouting reports. It is another thing entirely to watch them execute it under the bright lights of a major league stadium. Let us talk about the atmosphere inside the ballpark for a second. When you have a massive youth movement arriving all at once, the energy in the stadium fundamentally changes. The fans were on their feet for every single pitch in the 8th and 9th innings. You could literally feel the electricity jumping through the screen. It felt exactly like playoff baseball, right in the middle of July. That is the pure power of a successful rebuild. It completely revitalizes the entire city. Detroit has always been an incredibly passionate baseball town. And when you give them a product like this, they will back you 100% of the way. And do not forget the veteran presence behind the scenes. Manager A.J. Hinch deserves a massive amount of credit for how he handled this game. Pulling the right levers in a bullpen game is never an easy task. Trusting the rookies in high-leverage situations shows a massive amount of faith in their development. He let them play their aggressive game, and they rewarded him with an absolute blowout. This is exactly how you build a winning culture from the ground up. You trust the data, you trust the talent, and you let it eat. If you are a Tigers fan, this is the game you bookmark immediately. This is the game you save on your phone. Because years from now, when this core is competing for an American League pennant, you will look back at July 31st, 2026, as the night everything clicked. The night the rebuild officially ended and the contention window swung wide open. The energy in the dugout was entirely different. The swagger was different. These kids do not care about the struggles of the past 5 years. They only care about winning right now. And the front office has to be smiling. All the massive criticism All the waiting, it is finally paying off. When you can roll out a lineup featuring this much young, explosive talent. The rest of the American League Central needs to be put on high alert. This team is no longer an easy win on the schedule. They are dangerous. They are hungry. And they have the firepower to run you right out of the building. But beyond the box score, you have to look at the cultural impact. The fans in Motor City deserve this. They have sat through 100-loss seasons. They have sat through rebuild after rebuild. Seeing a night where every single prospect delivers a highlight reel moment is exactly why baseball is the greatest sport on earth. You cannot script a better debut for Max Clark. You cannot script a better moment for Dillon Dingler. This is what makes this game so incredibly special. So, here is the big question. With the trade deadline just days away, does this offensive explosion change how the Tigers approach the market? Do they hold on to their veterans? Do they make a push? Or do they stay the course and let the kids play? It is going to be a fascinating storyline to follow. Who do you think is the true breakout star of this game? Is it Max Clark with his 3 hits? Or Dillon Dingler with the grand slam? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to Comerica Deep Dive. Detroit Tigers for more deep dives.